A tweet from the New York Times. The Supreme Court unanimously upheld access to a widely available abortion pill, rejecting a challenge from anti-abortion groups. The challenge to the availability of Mifepristone reflected one of the latest fronts over abortion access. Let's get a full breakdown on what happened earlier today from Fox News correspondent Rebecca Castor.
We'll be back. We are not giving up hope. The pro-life generation does not stop.
In a significant setback for pro-life advocates, the Supreme Court ruled Thursday that the abortion pill Mifepristone will stay widely available.
It's not surprising, but it is disappointing.
The pill is legal in 37 states, but a group of concerned citizens and doctors sued the FDA after it fast-tracked new regulations for the drug, which include allowing patients to buy the pill through the mail without a doctor's visit and extending the window it can be taken from 7 to 10 weeks of pregnancy. The court did not address those concerns, simply ruling unanimously the plaintiffs did not have the legal standing to sue.
What would have to happen is that you got a plaintiff who actually suffered an injury from Mifepristone, who could come back and say, you know, if it hadn't been for the FDA making it available without going through all the safety protocols, my injury would never have happened.
In a statement, President Biden said in part the fight for reproductive freedoms continues and indicated women's rights are at stake if Donald Trump is reelected. However, the former president has previously said he would not push for a federal abortion ban.
We are not yet out of the woods. This shouldn't be a decision women are forced to fear year after year, case after case.
There's one more abortion case before the Supreme Court dealing with whether federal law can force doctors to perform emergency abortions even if state law prevents it. That ruling is expected by the end of the month. Outside the Supreme Court, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Thank you to Rebecca Castor for that report. I'd like to continue on and speak a little further on these developments and bring into the conversation now Julie Burkhart. She is the president of Wellspring Health Access. This is a clinic in Wyoming that supports reproductive health care. So, Julie, good to see you. Thank you for being with us today. I'd like you to start by giving us some background on this abortion pill. So, Mifepristone, excuse me. Tell us about when it first came on the market, how popular it is, what kind of patients qualify to get it administered?
Well, this is something that's been on the market for a couple of decades now. We have seen the use of Mifepristone in concert with Mifepristone, which is called medication abortion, rise, especially during COVID, and then again after Roe was overturned with the Dobbs decision about 2 years ago. So about 50% of people having abortions in the United States are using medication abortion, and one of those medications is Mifepristone.
Julie, I know that you're very involved when it comes to advocacy work and working with different organizations for abortion rights, reproductive health care. You issued a statement after this ruling calling it a much-needed win, although the court should have rejected this case based on the merits. If you'd like to explain to our viewers what you mean by that.
Well, this case was brought by individuals, practitioners who do not provide medication abortion. This is a medication that has been used safely. Study after study has shown that the failure rate, complications rate is very low, between 2 and 5%, depending on when you take it during pregnancy. And that the research that has been done by medical professionals and the guidance by the FDA is what the court should have looked at instead of, you know, just saying that they didn't have standing.
Just showcasing here some more footage on this decision today. And Julie, I do want to ask you, what kind of changes have you witnessed since that Dobbs decision that overturned Roe v. Wade, because you do handle a few different clinics that specializes in all of this reproductive health care. So what have you seen from that decision up until now, today's decision to uphold this broad access of an abortion pill?
Yes, so I have a clinic I'm a co-owner in Granite City, Hope Clinic. And so we're in the southern part of Illinois. And at that clinic, after the Dobbs decision, after Roe fell, we now see 80% of our patients coming from banned or severely restricted states. We see between 700 and 800 patients a month, which is more than a twofold increase. Also, our second trimester caseload has increased by 2.5-fold as well. And that's a function of people not knowing where to go, not knowing where to look, and getting to our clinic later in pregnancy. In 2023 at Hope Clinic, we saw people from 28 different states across this nation. The numbers in Wyoming at Wellspring are similar. We saw people from 18 states in 2023, which is quite amazing for a state that has such a low population. Our second trimester rate is also twofold, which means people from these banned states are having obstacles and an incredibly difficult time finding clinics. So we are very glad that we're able to help folks in these safe states.
I can imagine it's very difficult for someone that's trying to look for that support and that help, not knowing where to turn to. And so I did want to get some of those concerns that you hear from patients that you've been seeing within these clinics. As I mentioned before, Julie, you are heavily involved when it comes to advocacy work. Can you tell us about what different organizations are doing, perhaps behind the scene, whether it's legislative work or more community outreach, to try to get that momentum going based on reproductive rights?
Absolutely. I do want to mention that from both of the states, and we see this across the country, that since Roe fell, about 80 to 90% of patients are needing help with funding. And so that leads me into your question. There are wonderful, wonderful organizations across the country who help with funding of not only the medical procedure, but also travel, lodging, and meals. Those organizations are found in each state, even in banned states across the nation. We have organizations that are working on policy change where we can do that at this time in certain states. We have political groups who are working to build back power in the states that have lost access to reproductive rights. So we have many partners out there who are working in coalition and concert to make sure that we can bring back abortion access in all 50 states.
It does seem like a very heavy task going forward, this
Yes.
implementation of, once again, federal right to abortion. Julie, this is such an important topic, and I'd like to leave you with the last word, maybe something that we didn't touch on throughout our conversation, maybe something else that you want to add about SCOTUS' decision today regarding the abortion pill.
Yes, this was a win for us today. However, I want us to keep in mind that since the fall of Roe, there are people suffering in these states where we have abortion that's banned or severely limited. And so I think it behooves us to be mindful that people are suffering in this country. We call them medical refugees. Also, when you look at people who say that they're single issue voters, the number one group is those who care about abortion rights. And 3/4 of those single issue voters say they categorize themselves as pro-choice, and supporting abortion rights. And so I see that this is an issue that is going to continue to be incredibly important at the polls.
Julie Burkhart, president of Wellspring Health Access, we appreciate your time here. As you said, it's an issue that we're going to continue to cover over the next several months, possibly years. We have to see how things kind of shape out, especially with this next presidential election. But we look forward to checking in with you and seeing the progress on how this all goes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to bring up a tweet now for our viewers here because we did get a lot of reaction from the SCOTUS ruling today. This first one from President Biden saying, since the overturning of Roe v. Wade, Republican elected officials have imposed extreme abortion bans in 21 states, some of which include 0 exceptions for rape or incest. This tweet goes on to say women are being turned away from emergency rooms or forced to go to court to plead for care that their doctor recommended or to travel hundreds of miles for care. Doctors and nurses are being threatened with jail time, including life in prison, for providing the health care they have been trained to provide. And contraception and IVF are under attack. The states could not be higher. President had another tweet where he did mention that he and the vice president are continuing to stand for the majority of Americans who support a woman's right to make deeply personal health care decisions. And our commitment to you is that we will not back down from ensuring women in every state get the care they need. We're going to step away for a quick commercial break. Stick with us here. More to come on Live Now from Fox.